Let's start with a hot take. And the hot take is mine this week. And the hot take is, no, it's not that anime is bad. It's that you don't have the emotional intelligence or wherewithal to actually appreciate and understand what the hell is going on with it. Let's begin, shall we? I'm going to use a prime example from this week. So, Jujutsu Kaisen came out. And we're definitely going to get into that later on in the episode. But I had an encounter with someone very recently who actually lives with me, who basically hated everything about it. And they complained about the protagonist and how everything was set up and it was so expected, blah, blah, blah. And for one, I feel like when you go into a shonen, you should automatically expect certain things. Or certain things shouldn't be a surprise to you. This shonen is not like your regular shonen, so like I don't follow the manga. But even just from the first episode, there were so many like small things that were just like dropped by the grandfather, all of the like side comments that were said by the other characters. I don't really know the majority of their names yet because still the first episode, and there's a lot of shit that's dropping right now. So, I'm a little mangled up with that. But even still, it's just like, for you to write off something immediately when there's a huge following and you're just like, oh, well, that first episode, like, it just really didn't hit with blah, blah, blah. Well, there's also the 3-episode rule that a lot of people do because, certain things take a little time to get going. But this didn't take a lot of time to get going. So if you haven't seen the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, I honestly recommend you go watch that shit because it was fucking amazing. And, maybe if it's not your zhuzh, maybe if you're not really here with the horror, the supernatural shit, at least watch the opening because the opening is perfect. Studio Mappa is killing it. They're killing it. But I'm gonna segue a little bit into Dragon Ball Z people. And I know y'all are fucking tired of us talking about the Dragon Ball Z people, but it needs to be said. You people, or not you people, but those people whose barometer for anime relies off of Dragon Ball Z and Naruto and, Bleach and shit, like, your opinion doesn't matter when it comes to like the bigger scheme of things, the grander schemes of things, because you have no versatility. You have not exposed yourself to different genres, to different things. So when you try to judge certain things, even like big things, it's like, hey, this big thing is popular because of these reasons. Like, yes, it is a traditional shonen, but it also does these slightly different things that makes it great. Oh no, whatever, it just sucks. Oh, does it suck because it doesn't adhere to like, the just like shonen shit that's been thrown in your face past like 20 years where it's like, if it's not simple enough for you to understand, then you're not here for it, which I get it. But there are shonen for that, and then there are shonen that are trying to do other things and evolve the fucking art form. So just because you don't comprehend what's going on and just because you can't understand it does not mean that it is not good. That just means that you need to read a fucking book.
Yeah, I'll double down and say a lot of anime is intended for a broad audience, and it's not necessarily high art. Some of it is intentionally, but for the most part it's not. And it's okay to watch something and not enjoy it. Whatever it is, whatever everyone else tells you, it's fine to look at a thing and say this isn't for me. Yeah. It's another thing entirely to look at a thing, say it's not for you, and then because it's not for you, assume that it is poorly made, but be unable to articulate why you think that is. And you don't need, an art history degree to break things down. If a certain element of the plot or the presentation or the explanation and exposition doesn't work for you, just say that. But leaning into this idea of like, oh, well, this is boring, so it's bad. And I know that that's an oversimplification of what some people do say. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your audience's time. It's a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
Just say, this wasn't for me and move on.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm just not feeling it. It's not bad, but this isn't for me. That's understandable. But to just basically be like, no, this sucks because it's just doing the same thing that everyone else does. No shit. It's in a particular genre. Duh.
This would be like complaining that Titanic was derivative and so you couldn't enjoy it.
Like,
okay.
Like, what? you hear the words? Do you think about the words before they come out of your mouth? Sometimes, like, it's just it didn't even baffle me. It just kind of pissed me off because I'm just like, well, you can't write off the entire thing. You can literally just say, hey, that's not for me. And that's cool. There's a lot of shit that ain't for me that I don't watch. I can admit that I'm a horror bitch. I shy away from horror anime because, hey, I'm a bitch. I can't watch that shit. I scare too easily. Am I out here bitching to be like, oh no, all the horror anime are trash? Like, boo boo. It's like, no, just because I can't watch them or just because I can't stomach it does not make it any less valid or palpable or, accessible to everyone else. Like, no, that's just me. That's just me. But I'm not about to write the shit off just because I can't watch it or because I can't enjoy it myself. No, that makes no sense. So stop it. Stop.
Yeah, and I remember when Hunter x Hunter 2010 came out, and for those people who really didn't know anything about the series, never read it, never watched the was it 98 and 96 the original
one,
which is also very good because the source material is very good, but nonetheless, people who are very unfamiliar with it watched the first episode. They concluded that it felt derivative to them. I heard some people say it was a knockoff of Fairy Tail. I heard other people say that it was weird and boring and that it stole a lot of things from Dragon Ball and they just couldn't get into it. It was too upbeat. It was too pleasant. The world didn't make any sense. And
off the first
episode. Even after the first few episodes, I know people who dropped it after 3 to 5 episodes because they didn't understand what the show was trying to set up. Because truthfully, if you watch that first episode, it's not immediately obvious that they're going to go where they go, how they go about doing it. And also because it's older than people think, so a lot of people didn't really understand what the series was, what its history was, where it was going to go, the level of depth and complexity. I remember I had a friend who told me after watching the first 3 episodes of the 2010 Hunter x Hunter that they felt that the power system was too weak to create any kind of interesting moment, so they just decided to drop it. I want you to think about that for a second. That was their first impression of the show. And then even years afterwards, I think that it had run for a few years, and folks around them had suggested over and over again, oh, you should pick up Hunter x Hunter. Oh, you should pick up Hunter x Hunter. It's great. It's great. But they couldn't move off of that first impression that they weren't able to see enough to prognosticate into the future as to how the show was going to turn out. And so they didn't want to engage with it. And I feel like there are some people who watch Jujutsu Kaisen or have heard about it, watch the first episode, and they think, well, because the main character starts out in a place where there is already some development and they already have some ability, that obviously that means that there can't be any growth, or that the power system or whatever is going to underpin all the action is going to be static, and they watch these shows for that Dragon Ball Z power up over time sort of tradition, and they just don't see it, so they move on from it very quickly, which I think was a mistake because they have no idea what is going to happen, but they think that they do.
So did that friend ever pick it back up?
They did, actually. I think around the time it was ending, they went back, and it was funny to kind of watch them go through the different stages of understanding and then surprise and then grief and then suddenly saying, well, this is the best show I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's true for everything off of a first impression, but there's a weakness in, when you think you've seen it all, or as you pointed out, your expectations are set by something like a Dragon Ball or any popular anime that you got into personally yourself. If you imagine everything is going to be like that, or things that differ from that are bad, you're just going to miss out on a lot.
You're blocking your blessings, literally. But yeah, that was on my tongue. Like, I just really had to get that out because I felt the way. I really did feel a way because I felt like Jujutsu Kaisen didn't deserve that. And it just didn't deserve